evening or good afternoon, late afternoon, that is. Welcome inside the channel. Welcome back. I'm Bobby Trosset. This is where I bring you Baltimore sports and beyond. This episode is brought to you by my friends at Morningstar Storage. That's exactly where I just put the majority, probably 80% of my belongings prior to leaving Baltimore for the time being. This location that I chose was in Canton, but you've got Brewers Hill, Fells Point locations, a number of others. And I'll tell you about them in just a bit. And again, that is Morningstar Storage, the official sponsor of this episode here inside the Bobby Baltimore channel. The Ravens news that you've been waiting for just dropped. And I guess we knew about it technically yesterday, according to ESPN, but now it is official, as you see here from the team. Malachi Starks, first-round pick out of Georgia, is now under contract. He has signed his 4-year rookie deal, and that now leaves Mike Green, second-round pick at edge rusher, as the only unsigned draft selection. What does this mean, you ask? Not much, honestly. I wouldn't read too much into it when it comes to Mike Green. This is sort of the time of year, and you're certainly watching this take place in Cincinnati with Shamar Stewart. But, obviously there's some haggling going on. Guaranteed money language is being fleshed out, you would think. And so not abnormal to be unsigned at this point, and certainly not cause for worry or concern, but notable for the Ravens that on May 29th, I guess this was actually, again, made official yesterday, but the team itself making note of it today, just a short while ago, that on May 29th, for all but one member of your draft class to be signed, they're in pretty darn good shape. Mandatory minicamp coming up right around the corner. More voluntary OTA sessions coming as well in the coming weeks. And, of course, they're in the middle of one right now. Yesterday's press conferences, of course, took place. We had a chance to hear from Mark Andrews, Darius Washington, John Harbaugh, Isaiah Likely, and others. So there's lots of content to get into this week. It does kind of feel like for the first time in a while, there's actually legitimate football to sink your teeth into. But this is obviously a cause for celebration that Malachi Starks, the first-round pick out of Georgia, is now under contract. He has signed his rookie deal, and it's notable and noteworthy and significant at this point because of Darius Washington's recent news having sustained that Achilles tear in a conditioning session, unfortunately for his sake, at one winning drive. This happened just a short while ago. John Harbaugh noting that it was a clean Achilles tear during his press conference yesterday, and Darius has told him that he'll be back in November. Now, that might be a lofty approach to it, but I love the optimism from number 29, a fan favorite for sure. Harbaugh referred to him as a quick healer. He himself is looking at November and December is his timeline. And even then might be sort of a lofty, remarkable turnaround time. He did refer to it as speculation and went on to just totally rave about Darius Washington, which is difficult not to, based on what he's given this team, based on how he bailed this team out a year ago after Marcus Williams was benched, after Eddie Jackson was sent home. And now you have a player in Malachi Starks who, sure, appears to be a quick learner, sure, has plenty of high leverage, important reps at the collegiate level under his belt, has won a national championship, understands winning, understands how to take care of his body, the proper nutrition, is well-spoken, yada, yada, yada. It's why the Ravens were comfortable, especially given his high floor, spending first-round draft capital on him. But were they prepared for him to start to this extent with this amount that appears to be on his plate? I don't know the answer to that. John Harbaugh talked about it a little bit, and he talked about what he's been seeing so far from Malachi. He made clear he hasn't flashed yet, and he's still learning the defense, but he also hasn't made a mistake yet. And he also went on to note that with Darius being down, there is a lot on his plate right now. I can only imagine just how much is on his plate as it is being a rookie drinking from the fire hose. But now, assignments-wise, you're essentially trying to process and play make at the same time. And so I think it's wise to temper expectations when it comes to Malachi Starks throughout the course of this offseason as he tries to get his feet from underneath him. With Ardarius down, they are going to need Malachi Starks, and he certainly is a projected starter alongside Kyle Hamilton several months out from the start of the season. I don't need to remind any of you that the Ravens' pass defense, before they shifted to the Ardarius Washington, Kyle Hamilton duo, that was a fantastic partnership and really a season-saving partnership. I don't need to remind you that they ranked dead last, 32nd league-wide in yards per game. They gave up over 294 yards per game, guys, as a pass defense. Then, once that partnership formed, as Jonas notes, they vaulted to first in the NFL, literally night and day, and almost cut that number in half. Not quite, but 171.6 yards per game, down from 294.9. That is absurd. And it was absolutely necessary because, quite frankly, they were in dire need of stability on the back end. So, now what? Well, for Malachi, this is a player that is a confident human. Don't you remember his SportsCenter hit earlier this offseason?
Back, are you looking forward to picking off the most?
I think I want to get Josh Allen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I want to get Josh Allen. I got a few teammates up there, so it'll just be fun. It'll be a really cool moment for me.
Unafraid to make it clear he wants to get Josh Allen. He wants to pick off Josh Allen. He said that on his SportsCenter interview earlier this offseason. I thought Chris Sims, in a segment that he did on Unbuttoned recently, kind of talked a little bit about why Malachi may have a little bit of a learning curve in front of him, especially now that he essentially has the key to the vehicle, the key to the car, with Ardarius Washington going down and a big roster spot that is up for grabs right now, that he is the front runner to go secure. Remember this from Chris?
I know why people like him, and I like him too. He's another guy that I would go, yeah, I'm not wowed by like all the physical ability all the time, but he's a damn good football player that I would want starting on my defense. That's for sure. He's not your traditional thumper safety type of guy. This is a nickel slash, nickel slash free safety type of guy. I think that's ultimately where you'd want him. And even with a nickel, I think I would want him more in. I want him nickel because we think they're going to run. He's going to help in the run game. He's going to play physical. I mean, he's from Georgia. There's no hesitation in his tackling, his physicality. That's what you like right away, right? He's twitchy. He accelerates, right? And then he's very good at knowing what's being done on the offensive side of the ball and having a good feel for that. He's just a good football player, right? But on run downs, I'd want him to play nickel. Pass downs, I'd want him at free safety, right? He tackles well. He's not a killer. I wouldn't want to take him in the first round. That's what I wrote. He's a safe pick, and because it's Georgia, he's a little overrated. But he's a great, smart, charismatic kid, and he's a really good football player, just not an elite special athlete. And, hey, because of that, he could get – we talked about this the last pod. There's going to be a few guys where I don't know if their physical ability says first round, but it's all their other characteristic traits and what they can bring to the culture of the team and all of that certain teams are going to love. And that's where Malachi Starks will certainly thrive.
So he's not saying anything there that's groundbreaking in a sense, right? We know that Malachi Starks was not the most physically gifted safety at his position in this year's draft class. The reason why he was first round eligible and a first round talent is due to the processing ability, due to what he put on tape, due to his high football IQ, right? His leadership qualities as a team captain at Georgia. Those are the main reasons. And it's not to say he's some slouch from a physical standpoint, but compared to the specimens that are Nick Eamon-Warry, right, the Eamon-Warrys of the world, there is a difference in terms of the athletic gifts that those two players have and possess ultimately. So to me, it's like, look, can you come in, play solid nickel, be a ball hawk playmaker when you're asked to be, play good, solid, complementary football alongside Kyle Hamilton. Know where you are, right? Be an assistant field general to Kyle Hamilton and be able to process the game in a way that speaks to why you had so much success and speaks to your high floor that I think a lot of us feel like he's coming into the NFL with out of Georgia. The amount of experience that he has, the amount of high leverage reps that he has and that he has put on tape that the Ravens were ultimately comfortable with to draft him 27th overall in the first round. You know, where he gets into trouble, me just sort of envisioning how things go, trying to press a little bit with no Ardarius Washington. You're trying to be the hero, trying to be the guy, trying to almost show up on tape in a playmaking perspective, and then all of a sudden you lose or somehow become complacent from a processing standpoint. So that'll be something I'm going to be watching as this upcoming season nears, of course, with mandatory minicamp, training camp, and all these other opportunities that he's going to have to showcase himself and put his best foot forward in terms of, okay, do you truly understand the terminology? Do you truly have a good feel for the scheme? Do you truly have a good feel for what you need to process in the moment so that while processing, it can be a simultaneous process of processing the game and then playmaking, and that being a complementary kind of duo. That's what I'll be looking for. This episode is brought to you by my friends at Morningstar Storage. You guys obviously know that I've been on the road and running around the last few weeks, closing down my place in Canton. And how convenient was it that Morningstar called me up? My girl, Chrissy, who's the store manager in Canton. You can click on the link that's in the show notes if you want to learn more about Morningstar. Canton is not the only location that they have available for you. There's Brewers Hill, Boston Road, Greektown, and Fells Point. So for those of you in the Baltimore area, perhaps you're in need of some extra storage, or maybe you're in the middle of a move. I don't know. What they offer is pretty variety driven. Small is 25 to 75 square feet. The medium storage unit is 100 to 180. And large storage units range from 200 to 300 plus square feet. I think I was in the medium one. But anyway, this is all like climate controlled. It's right in Canton, to the left of Canton Crossing, for those of you who are familiar with the area. They give you a code, so it's super easy to access the building. They've got dollies and all kinds of different bins that you can use to get up in the elevator. I was up on the 5th floor. But yeah, Chrissy's great to work with. And Morningstar Storage has just been, honestly, I mean, it was exceptional. It was right down the road from where I was. So it was super convenient. It's clean. It's good stuff if you're looking for a little bit of extra storage for whatever reason. So shout out to Morningstar. Learn more by visiting the show notes, top of the video description below. That now brings me to DeAndre Hopkins. I'd like to keep talking about this because I think it's of note and of interest. And then, of course, there's a few, one snapshot, a few of the wide receivers. DeAndre is going to be wearing number 10, of course, this year. Tylan Wallace, 16. There's Mini Zay, Zay Flowers, not to be confused with Big Zay, Isaiah Likely. But of course, D-Hop making notes of perhaps some criticism that he's heard out there. Here's a screenshot from his Instagram story. And if you really look closely, this is a photo that D-Hop took of the fastest OTA speeds, the second OTA session. And DeAndre posted this to his Instagram story. And how about where he falls? He and Devontae Walker both were clocked at 20 miles an hour. Typically, well, you can't see the context here, and we don't know the context. Typically, this is a next-gen stat top speed, peak performance. Marquise Robinson leads the way at 20.2 miles an hour. But Devontae Walker, the second-year player out of UNC and a fourth-round pick from a year ago, with DeAndre Hopkins at 32 years young, those guys tied for second at 20 flat, 20 miles an hour. After that, LaJohntay Wester, the rookie sixth rounder out of Colorado, 19.9. Zay Flowers, 19.6. Keaton Mitchell, also 19.6, which is a great sign for where he's at in his ongoing recovery back from that ACL. And Malachi Starks finds his way in here. He says, not so fast. You're not calling me an athlete earlier on in the show? Look at me. I'm just tenths of a point off from some of the fastest players on this day, on this team, for the second OTA session. But the best part about this screenshot is DeAndre's caption. He takes a little shot at his doubters and says, I'm old and can't run, with a shh emoji. I love it. He's the grizzled veteran at this point. He's the elder statesman. When does DeAndre turn 33? Let's take a look. He is 32 right now, born in 1992, and he will turn 33 in a week. Little over a week, June 6th. Guy was a first-round draft pick back in 2013. Still around. Still in Baltimore. I don't know what that means. Of course, he's still in Baltimore. He was just signed. But it's time to talk expectations for DeAndre Hopkins. Because as it tends to happen this time of year, I have been seeing a little bit too many lofty predictions for my liking. And I hope I'm wrong. But I don't think DeAndre Hopkins is going to be a needle-moving acquisition. I think in spots, in a small sample size, in key situations, DeAndre could prove to be a viable target and somebody that is highly impactful. But to sit here and think that at age 32, he will be 33 by the start of the season, for him to be an every down guy, 1,000-yard receiver, to me, that's I find that to be a little bit too lofty for my liking, if we're looking at this realistically. Harbaugh talked about his expectations for D-Hop, referred to him as a heck of a football player, which he is, and he's a gifted guy. He went on to say, but he's going to be a big body contested catch receiver for us. He's moving great. Plus, he brings all the experience. He's been in the big game. He's made big plays in big games. He's not going to be in any situation that's too big for him. I just thought he and Lamar looked really good out there together. It was nice to see. Evan chimes in, the needle movement won't be on the stat sheet. It will be what he does for the offense as a whole. Yeah, but I guess we have to define, Evan, what needle moving is. So what the hell is needle moving? Because to me, the way that I would define that, if I'm not being placed in a box, the purpose of this exercise, to me, needle moving is a player that alters the way that your roster is constructed, the way that Todd Monken is going to call games, the way that your entire wide receiver room may change, meaning if a player like him comes in, then he's going to start to kind of knock on the door for wide receiver 1 and 2. I don't see that being the case here. Now, again, that's just my definition off the cuff of how I view needle moving. Evan's suggesting that his needle moving definition could very well be his sheer presence alone, having to account for it, what he does for you in perhaps the red zone in January, in a gotta have it moment when you need 4 yards, in a contested catch winning type of moment, in a small sample size. And I think that's fair. Maybe we just have different definitions when it comes to DeAndre Hopkins' expectations. But I think Harbaugh's got it right. And if he can provide that 50-50 winning, contested catch winning experience on top of what he's going to bring from a savvy and just overall mentorship standpoint to what is otherwise a young and inexperienced wide receiver room, that in and of itself is a freaking bargain because of what they've paid him. And they've paid him very little to come to Baltimore to be Nelson Aguilar's replacement. Nelly only had a couple hundred yards, if memory serves, last year and was essentially a non-factor, particularly down the stretch. DeAndre is an immediate upgrade over Nelly. There's no question about that. How much of an upgrade? That remains to be seen. The guest lines are open. I'd love to get your thoughts on this conversation. What are realistic expectations for DeAndre Hopkins if you are to look at this objectively? Would love to get your thoughts. Mercedes has been waiting for a minute. Appreciate you. Let's bring him in. It's good to see you, man. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Bob?
Good to see you, dude. What do you think? You've been talking to, I don't know why you called in terms of what you wanted to talk about, so let's get to that second. But first, I would love to get your initial thought. What is a realistic expectation for DeAndre Hopkins? I'll give you numbers quickly.
I think realistically, I'd say probably similar to what Nelly did, really, but a little bit more like reliable compared to where Nelly was kind of wishy-washy, kind of down the season. I feel like just like when he was on the Chiefs, he could be like a third down, go get it type ball catcher.
Here's what Nelly gave the Ravens last year. 14 games, 14 receptions, 231 receiving yards, 2 touchdowns. The year prior, his first season in Baltimore, 17 games played, 35 receptions, 381 yards, 4 touchdowns. Average in terms of yards per reception, 10.9 his first season in 23, 16.5, obviously a lot smaller sample size last year at 16.5 yards per reception. So I think it's an upgrade over Nelly. I don't think there's much of a debate there. And I think he's going to give much more than 231 in the receiving standpoint. I also think that he'll have more than 2 touchdowns.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I feel like
him, to me, not to hijack your call, but to me, when you think about the embarrassment of riches that they have and the way this offense is going to be run through Lamar and Derek, it's going to be run through Zay and Bateman from a complementary standpoint, you would think. You got to get Likely and Andrews involved as well. All those players that I just named, unless it's a situational type of you're trying to exploit a situational moment where DeAndre can absolutely give you what you need, then all those players that I just mentioned, to me, are ahead in the pecking order of DeAndre. So with that in mind, to me, a very successful season would be somewhere between 350 and 450 receiving yards and 3 or 4 touchdowns. That, to me, feels like a successful season, especially for what you brought him in to do.
I feel like we generally brought him in for the purpose of for example, it's kind of like that situation where a player could have, like, for example, Bateman, he had a great year last year, but then it's also like, what if it's just a 1-year wonder type thing? And like eventually we're going to have to start thinking about who do we want to keep, either Bate or Zay, because we have to pay our superstars on defense like Kyle, Tyler, and people like that. But I feel like it's more of like a, plan B. I feel like they learned from the Browns game that, God forbid, if Zay goes down again, we got D-Hop there instead of Nelly, which he can be wishy-washy. personally, I think he was wishy-washy, but I feel like Hopkins now is a more reliable target for Lamar. I feel like he's really been hyping him up too. I mean, I feel like he could have been here for 2 years before then, before we even had Bateman's breakout season that we had now.
Yeah, there does appear to be instant chemistry for DeAndre. I mean, obviously this has been a long time in the making, so Marlon just tweeted. Let's see what the hell he did over here. He said the contract wasn't signed, but still practicing. Wow. Okay, so Marlon Humphrey. This is really interesting right here. Marlon just gave a little bit of love to Malachi. How about this? Let me pull this up.
Wasn't it just signed though? I just saw that on Instagram.
It was just released. So I don't know when it was specifically signed. The photo itself was just released of him putting pen to paper. But as Marlon Humphrey just tweeted out a second ago here, which caught my attention out of the corner of my eye, Marlon says the contract wasn't signed, but still practicing.
Wow.
And with a little clap emoji. If that's the case, man, all power to Malachi. That tells you a little bit about his character. But unlike somebody, and that's not to say that Shamar Stewart lacks character, but the biggest conversation surrounding Cincinnati right now, and a huge AFC North story not named Aaron Rodgers, is that their first-round pick, Shamar Stewart, has yet to practice because there's clearly some negotiating going on behind the scenes regarding guaranteed money. So he hasn't even participated in anything they're doing right now, whereas Malachi Starks appeared to have been practicing prior to actually going pen to paper, which you got to salute him for that.
I genuinely don't even think that they even signed their first or second round players. I mean, I don't know what they're doing, but I mean, I hope they keep it up. I genuinely have a friend over in Cincy right now. He's been talking, a lot of manure, hyping it up as if he's like a Cowboys fan. So
he's been talking a lot of manure. That's definitely a new one. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Got to keep it family friendly, Bob.
Love it, man. Appreciate you. Hey, give me a win-loss record for 25. I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going 12-5. Sarah went 13-4. And my mechanic last week went 10-7. So where are you at?
It has to be like a 12-5. I mean, I feel like that's like kind of similar to where we left off last year. We're not going to be as dominant as like the Eagles, but we're going to be as consistent as like a team like the Bills. I'm really excited for week 1, really. The only thing is that I do have Bills fans. Like, I have fun with them and all that. You talk a lot of hullabaloo with them. I just don't like how the media is kind of portraying us as like the new rivalry type thing. I feel like we're just kind of like the teams that are more similarly together team-wise because we're both, good depth and talent-wise. So that's kind of my prediction. Probably 12-5, something safe around there.
You and I are lockstep, man. I appreciate the call today. Have a great day.
You too, Bob.
See you, brother. Thanks for the call. So there you have it. Malachi Starks, the Ravens news you've been waiting for. Mike Green still to be signed. So obviously, you'd like to think that's going to take place at some point. The Bobby Baltimore Discord server is a 24/7 hub for conversations surrounding Baltimore sports. If you would like to join, it is free to do so. All you got to do, click on the link that's included as a pinned comment right now. We've got over 800 members and counting. I'd love to get to 1,000 at some point here soon. I probably haven't been promoting it enough because, let's be frank, I haven't been on the live stream on the Bobby Baltimore channel in a minute. Just because we've been working on so many different friggin' goddamn, we've had a busy offseason, and I'm loving it. Here it is. 24/7 hub for conversations surrounding Baltimore sports. You get a shout out when you join. And as you can see, there are a number of different chat rooms, whether it's Maryland, Terps across the board, athletics-wise, Ravens football, Orioles baseball, Washington Capitals hockey, so on and so forth. Foggy Cloud became the latest. Who the hell is Foggy Cloud? And why is she kind of cute? And why do I feel like that is not actually who Foggy Cloud 27 is? Why do I feel like I'm being duped here? Can we all agree that Foggy Cloud 27, if this is actually her and not someone just randomly grabbing a random ass image off of Google, then that could be the future Mrs. Trosset right there? I think we can probably all agree. Foggy Cloud 27 precisely is right up my alley. I mean, we're talking brunette, appears to be athletic, great smile. What's going on here? Not to totally put Foggy Cloud 27 on the spot and blow up their spot, but I'm either getting trolled or I'm walking my ass down the aisle. That's what it sounds to me like right now. Anyway, Jesus, let's get back to it here. Anyway, that's the Bobby Baltimore Discord server, and I digress. Please like the video on your way in. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Manny's in the building. Let's see what he's got for us today on this late afternoon, the 29th, Thursday, May. Plenty going on. Talk to us. What you got for us today, my friend?
What do I got? Well, hey, I wasn't sure I wasn't in.
Well, listen, you need to. Why don't we start this way? Let's break the ice this way. Am I getting catfished or am I walking down the aisle?
I think it's catfish, man.
Probably. I mean, who the hell?
Let me put it this way, because you just referred to her. She would have answered right away on the Discord. Yes, I'm a girl. This is my Instagram, so you can check it out.
You'd like to think so.
Yeah,
I will tell you this. I will tell you something really quickly before I hand the mic off to you. I got a random follow on Instagram lately. Excuse me. I got a random Instagram follow recently. Okay. And that happens often from just random accounts that are either Ravens fans or Baltimore sports fans or whatever it is. But when you get a follow from somebody that kind of catches your eye, it's like, wait a second here. What's going on? What am I missing? Is she a Ravens fan, or is this something like she's heard the dating chronicles and maybe is struggling in the Baltimore area as well? And I have reason to believe, Manny, that it is the latter of those two. And so all I got to say is we've exchanged some messages responding to each other's Instagram story. We're feeling it out. And I may stick my neck out there in the coming days, if not coming hours, and kind of throw a shot. Take a shot. That's what's going on. That's the update I have for you.
Look, prayers that you get Mrs. Trosset real soon, man.
Thank you. As you were. Go ahead.
All right. D-Hop is going to do more than OBJ did for us.
Okay.
Period. Not more so. Always on the field, because we see the highlights of those OTAs, those types of catches that D-Hop is used to. He's now practicing with Lamar. I just see him evolving the offense more in the passing game. But that actually benefit us, because if you worry a lot about the passing game, guess what? We just turn it to 22 and goodbye.
I'm getting you for that reference that you just dropped. I just want to make sure we have something to sink our teeth into. Your OBJ reference. He played in 14 games for the Ravens in 23. He had 35 receptions for 565 yards receiving. That's an average of 16.1 per and 3 touchdowns. Do I think that DeAndre could surpass him in every single one of those categories? I don't know about every single one. But I could definitely see him having more touchdowns.
Yep.
I don't know if I see him going for over 500 receiving yards. I don't know about that.
Maybe not, but guess what? D-Hop is more so, because OBJ was saying, oh, do this, do that. But D-Hop is going to show them how it's done on the field without us getting worried that he might pop his ghost ACL on the field. So if you show the rookies how it's done instead of telling them, they're going to be like, okay, I'm going to do that. Instead of just, oh, how do I do? No, you do this. On the other side of the field, I'm actually, I'm wondering if they're going to sign Jadeveon Clowney, because Odafe is a big unknown. Mike Green, for as much as he showcases the talent that we want from Odafe from the start, he's still a rookie. So, those rookie walls he might hit very early on, or maybe even later on in the season once they catch his game. So you got to have a vet that can actually showcase him some tricks. Calvin Noy is not enough. What if he's busy teaching the other ones, or not available because of his personal things?
Clowney, I don't see signing. If he were to come to Baltimore, it would be. Here are two things that I feel pretty confident about with Jadeveon. One, I don't see anything being imminent. You think that guy wants to be a part of a training camp if he doesn't have to, right? That's one. And then two, I still think, based on what he's put on films, particularly in 23 in Baltimore, that there are teams out there that will give him a decent chunk of change. Baltimore's obviously not one of them, you would think, given their other priorities, what they need to be allocating for not just future extensions and whatnot, but that position in general. So those are the two things that come to mind. I think he'd be great to have back in Baltimore. I really do. I do think they view KVN, though, as sort of not the Clowney replacement, but something similar. And can't imagine Kyle's going to be here this time next year. This is probably his last go at it, at least in Baltimore. Hey, hope he proves me wrong, goes off and gets a bag somewhere else. I don't think the Ravens would be the ones to pay that. I think they want, obviously, to get younger. And obviously that was, I'm sure, a part of their thinking when they went after, Mike Green when he slipped to them in their lap on day 2.
Well, we got to wait to preseason to see what Dr. Rush actually does with Mike Green, because he seems excited, very excited.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no doubt, brother. Appreciate you, man.
I'm still waiting on that A-Rod news.
I'm not worried in the slightest. I think you should be kicking in your boots. $5 is $5, but I am nice and comfy over here. I don't know about you, boy.
I'm like that sweaty meme, just like every breaking news of the NFL is like, is it A-Rod? I have to pay $5 now.
I know you freaking want it badly, and I look forward to when that news comes down. We will be on the show. There's no question. Later, brother.
I'll give it to you. If it happens on the vault, I'll just donate the $5 to the vault.
Done. Talk to you soon, brother. Later, man. This is funny. This just popped up in my feed. Cordell Woodland, who covers the Ravens for 105.7 The Fan, friend of the show, had him on before. This is great. So Brad Downs is the senior vice president of marketing for the Ravens. Great guy, by the way. And he was asked, they were doing a tour of the new look M&T Bank Stadium, a lot of the renovations that are taking place, construction, everything. Sarah and I showed some of those renderings earlier this week that the Baltimore Sun released. But Brad Downs was asked about a potential retractable roof at M&T Bank Stadium. I was just having a conversation with my neighbor earlier this week, who I grew up with, and he's a Buffalo fan. Remember, I'm back in Albany, New York, and he is a Buffalo fan. And being that they are in the middle of new stadium construction, he kind of scoffed at the idea of going indoors. It's Buffalo. It's part of the spectacle that is the Buffalo Bills and the Western New York experience, particularly late in the season. So if you think that the Ravens, located in Baltimore below the Mason-Dixon line, should have a potential retractable roof feature added in, forget about it. And I love how Brad said exactly that. He stood 10 toes down. This is the AFC North. We play football outside. We're outside. Love that answer. Let's go. What are we doing here if we're considering otherwise? Love that answer from Brad. And let me tell you, the new look M&T Bank Stadium is pretty darn slick. They continue to enhance the game day experience. They continue to pour dollars into the bank, one of the best venues across the country. One more guest. Jewel, what's up, brother? It's good to see you, my friend. What you got for me today?
Hey, Bobby, what's going on? Just want to start off by saying about that little so-called girl that you saw. I'm just gonna call it. I'm gonna tell you it's a catfish. So don't do that. Don't do that one. I've got duped before. This guy is still single right now, 34 years old. I'm just telling you, do not do that. It's better to meet someone on an outside setting than rather somebody online than taking that chance. I wouldn't do that.
Fair enough, my
Anyways.
friend. Fair enough. I think there's a universal agreement on that, by the way, in the chat. So thank you, sir.
So pivoting, I got 4 areas of concern that I want to point out with this team.
Wow.
Everything.
4 of them?
Yeah, 4 areas.
Shit.
Well,
All right.
it's not really concerns. It's one of like more of highlights. I would say the safety position. Not too much of Kyle Hamilton. I'm not worried about him, and not too much of Malachi, but probably the rotational safety position, the third position, because Aldarius is not going to be there. I just want to see how Malachi adjusts to that role that he's going to be put under, and there's going to be a lot of acts of him. I want to see how he does. That's the bit of an unknown, but I'm not too worried about him. But I do have a tiny bit of want to keep an eye on that one. The second one I would say is the guard position with Daniel Falele. That competition. I want to see how he does in that role with new competition, obviously in the draft that's been added. I want to see how that's going to progress. And obviously the pass rush, as Manny, pointed out about Jadeveon Clowney. I don't think we're going to sign him unless it's a really drastic type of measure that the Ravens will probably need. And like you said, he's not going to be here on training camp. He's going to get here like probably at mid-season or something like that. And plus, he already knows the playbook, so it's like you don't really need to change anything for Jadeveon Clowney because he's already been here. And the fourth thing, and I don't think a lot of people are talking about this a lot, but it's the special teams. Now, the kicking position, we talked about that. All right, we're going to keep an eye on that, but I want to highlight the kickoff coverage, the punt return. The special teams has been a big problem these past couple of years. I don't know if you noticed it. You probably have noticed this. The kickoff coverage has been kind of iffy at best. We haven't had a lot of returns besides the Tylan Wallace thing, but that was just a one-time thing. We just really haven't had any success in that field. We had a couple block kicks a couple times on us on the receiving end, and that's been the number one thing that not a lot of people have talked about. I don't know if it's something that Chris Horton has addressed or is something he's looking towards, but that's one of the key concerns that I have going into the season, of special team, because that's a momentum type of switching type of moment. Any key play on special teams can change the course of the game. So
I think that's super fair, honestly. Your fourth and final one there is very fair, I think. I mean, they're all fair, but I think that's like the most valid concern that you have because the numbers suggest it, right? Jordan Stout is a below average punter.
yeah,
And from a flipping the field standpoint, that game within the game, they have not been elite to their standard, right?
Yeah.
When it comes to Baltimore special teams standards, they have not been clean enough. They have not been consistent enough in those areas, particularly, those units, and maybe some of it has to do with they're sort of in a period of transition right now, right?
Yeah.
So Chris Board leaves, Malik Harrison leaves. Those two guys lost a ton of special teams reps for them on different units, and so they're gone. You bring in Jake Hummel, who was one of the 5 players that missed OTAs yesterday, or at least a portion of this week. Not sure what's going on there, but he's the former LA Ram. And so you bring him in to essentially be your Chris Board replacement, and Chris was an ace. So that's definitely an area that just because it is special teams, will go under the radar. And then the elephant in the room over all that, because we can get into the nuance all we want with Chris Horton's units and the way that, you know, there's cohesion or not cohesion, and the way that Jordan Stout's flipping the field and or lack thereof. But the elephant in the room is how Tyler Loop is going to respond to the massive amount of pressure, pressure-loaded situation that he walks into right now. We have no clue how that is going to be managed, how he's going to respond to that, and if he's going to be able to replicate what Justin was able to do his rookie season. No clue.
Right.
So yeah, maybe of everything, special teams probably is the area that you have the most uncertainty.
Right. You got to figure out who's going to be your returner. Is it going to be Keaton Mitchell? Is it going to be maybe Justice Hill occasionally? I don't think they want to put him in that position because he's very important as the second running back behind Derrick Henry. Are you going to put the rookie from Colorado back there? Because he has a history of returning kicks and punt returns. He's very electrifying. So that's going to be one of the key topics that we're going to have to address, and they're going to have to figure out during this summer, going into the training camp, who's going to be that guy returning kicks, the coverage, how's that going to be? Jordan Stout's potential, whether he's going to be good, and obviously Tyler Loop. You're replacing basically the greatest kicker we've ever seen coming out on our team, basically. So that's a lot of pressure for that kid to live up to. But that's going to be a lot of questions. But that special teams right there is going to be the biggest question mark.
Solid breakdown, man. And you're right. I didn't even mention who's going to be your return specialist. LeJohntay Wester is who you were alluding to there, the sixth round pick out of Colorado. He's going to have a chance, you would think. Keaton's going to have a shot should he stay healthy, but you want to be careful with him, of course. But he seems to be running fluidly and confidently. That's what kind of John Harbaugh was suggesting yesterday. So that's obviously a positive. Just knowing the type of flair that he can bring and that lightning ability that complements Derrick Henry's thunder. So great stuff, man. Good breakdown. I'll catch up with you soon.
All right, Bobby. I'll see you on the next one.
All right, Jewel. Thanks, man. Over 500 of you joining me right now concurrently across all platforms. If you could, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Hit that notification bell so you can be notified of when I'm dropping my daily live content. You can connect with me on Instagram at Bobby Baltimore. You can connect with me on Twitter or X in that space as well. Same handle at Bobby Baltimore. You can, what else? If you want to show love, Venmo, Cash App, YouTube Super Chat feature. You guys know the drill by now. And Sarah and I will be back with you at 12 noon Eastern tomorrow for a Friday Ravens lunch hour live stream. Great show. Lots of callers popped in, which I appreciate. And this is not the time of year where I typically go an hour. I gave you 50 minutes or 49 minutes and change. So hopefully you appreciated that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the show. And hopefully you'll join me and Sarah tomorrow for another one coming up on the vault side of things. It's a 12 noon Eastern start time. We'll talk to you then. Appreciate you. And as always, I want to say thank you to my sponsor. That is Morningstar Storage in Canton. But again, it's not the only area in the Baltimore area that you have options. Canton, Brewers Hill, Boston Road, Greektown, and Fells Point. You've got essentially complete climate control storage spaces, and they range in sizes. Small is 25 to 75 square feet. Medium is 100 to 180. Large is 200 to 300 and up, and they all vary in price, but it's super clean. It's a great experience, and hopefully you'll check them out if you're in need of some storage space. So with that, thanks to Morningstar Storage. Thanks to all of you for dropping by as always. Please like the video on your way out. Subscribe. Hit that notification bell, and I'll catch up with you guys soon. Appreciate you as always. Later.